guys, a very warm welcome to Motorhoming Adventures.
Motorhoming Adventures.
Absolutely, this is our new channel, and the old one being...
It was offshore and onshore adventures, but here we're going to bring you all things motorhoming, the UK, Europe, further afield, who knows.
Absolutely, and we'll also be bringing across some of our original films that are on our old channel, or motorhoming films of course, and we'll be bringing them onto this channel so you don't miss out.
Absolutely, yeah. So stay tuned. All things motorhoming, technical, trips, travels, you name it. It's great to have you along.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you enjoy the channel, please do subscribe.
Oh, of course. Please do subscribe. And of course, the odd like is good too.
Thank you. But in this episode, we're going to be reviewing...
Yes. The CP Plus, the iNet box, and more particularly, how to connect the said iNet box.
Yes, so Bob's going to go through all of that in great detail for you, and we hope you find it useful. And as always, if you've enjoyed this episode, please give us a like and subscribe. We very much appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. This vehicle, this motorhome, is a Mobile Vetta K-Yacht Technoline 79. It's a 2021 vehicle. And when we got it, we were obviously told there was an iNet box in the vehicle. However, finding it was more of a challenge. So what we'll do is we'll take you through that bit of a voyage of exploration for this particular vehicle, and also therefore the functionality of the iNet itself and the Truma app. But obviously on your own vehicles, your own motorhomes and or caravans, or wherever else you have the Truma system installed, then hopefully it's slightly more accessible for you, because as you'll see in a moment, ours was a bit more hidden away. But enjoy the film, and let's have a look at the system.
Indeed, yeah, we hope you find it useful.
And the answer was lying behind the panel. Apparently the box, even though you've got to press a button on it to pair it with your phone or Bluetooth device, despite that, they've hidden it apparently behind the panel. So we're going to have a quick exploration to see if it is indeed behind there, and to try and get the iNet connected up to the phone. This surround is not stuck or screwed down or anything. It's just a pull-off panel. So the inside of that fascia plate has 4 little sort of lug points. Just ease it off very gently, work your way around until you can feel it just break past those lug points, retaining points, and then it just comes off. Right, and then top right there, bottom left there, 2 Phillips screws that seem to hold in the rest of the panel. So that's with the screws out, and we'll just lower it down, see how much wire they've got. Not that much wire, so I'll just have to let that take its own weight very gently. There we go. It's not enough, quite enough to reach the shelf. That's where the panel wiring is, and yep, lo and behold, at the back there with the red light flashing and the green on, we've got a power symbol. The GSM light is flashing red, and just on top of the unit, up on top there at the back of that light, you have to sort of feel along the back edge there, and there is a place for a SIM card to fit in there, which is a pay-as-you-go SIM card which you put in there to enable you to connect to the unit. So if we look at the diagrammatic representation there, it shows you there that the slot is just a bit further back from the lights, just on the top edge of the device there, and that the SIM has to go in with the terminals facing away from you, cutaway edge in the bottom right hand corner there, and that's the next part, if you like, of the connection process. That allows you obviously to connect with the device when you're away from your motorhome. Above the green, to the left of the green light, you've got the Bluetooth pairing connection, which is a button on the side then that you have to press to initiate the pairing process. So let's give that a go. A reasonable amount of room in here though. I was expecting it to be a bit tighter in here, but there's a fair bit of bits and pieces in here. So along the let's try and get some light in there. Along the top face, as you're looking at it now, so above all three lights along that horizontal face, you can just feel a button there, which is flush with the rest of the unit, but it does depress, and once depressed, that blue light then starts flashing. So hopefully that's going to initiate the pairing process on the app. Okay, so we've downloaded the Truma app onto the phone, and from the front screen, which looks like that, you then want to go into your settings, where you can begin the setup process. The first one you want to do obviously is to set up your iNet box itself to get the connection, and there, when you go into that setup screen, you get two options to configure the Bluetooth and or the GSM, i.e. the pay-as-you-go SIM card, depending on what you want. So if you just want control in and around the van within range of your caravan or your motorhome, then you can just go with the Bluetooth. If you want the Bluetooth and then you want to control from further afield, for reasons that I'll probably highlight perhaps a bit later on in the film, then you might also choose to get your pay-as-you-go SIM and configure GSM. So when you go into configure Bluetooth, so we'll just press that button again at the back. There we go, that initiated that blue flashing light again. It's come up on the phone to pair, so we'll click on pair, connection established, and straight away telling us that there is an update available, like most things software related. The red flashing light means that there is no SIM card present, pay-as-you-go SIM, and therefore that's the next bit we've got to change, is to get the SIM card added to the slot. So depending on the SIM that you've got, you'll know that when you buy the pay-as-you-go SIM, you get sort of 2 or 3 different options in terms of what size you want the final SIM to be to go into your phone or device. So all I've done is push this SIM card out of its holder card, and I've not obviously downsized it any further because it's not a nano, it's not micro. They describe it as a mini SIM, and therefore I've left all the options available, because for this unit, for the iNet box, it needs it in its largest form. So not nano, not micro, but as they would describe it, mini, just punched out of the card and left with that good card surround, which then will allow it to slot into the side of the iNet box. The SIM then has to go in with the connectors, the silver connectors, facing away from you. If you're obviously approaching the box from the way I am, with it tucked behind this panel here. Obviously the cutaway corner here is therefore in the bottom right hand corner, and it's a matter of fiddling it in to the back here and down into the slot further back there. And now that we've put the SIM in, it takes a short while to recognize the SIM, and then that red flashing light stops automatically once it's recognized that you've put the SIM in. And to give you an idea, it's positioned about in that line. There's the slot. You have to feel at the back there, feel where the slot is, and then just juggle it in. Obviously if you've got one that's a lot more visible or a lot more accessible, then getting it lined up will be a lot easier, albeit it wasn't too difficult to get into this. And therefore, just to be clear on that, so we're now Bluetooth connected. That obviously means that when I'm in and around the van, I can use the Truma app on my phone to control the heating and water, and indeed any other devices that you've got connected. But if additionally, and the iNet can be run purely on Bluetooth when you're next to the or within receiver range of the unit. But additionally, what we've done is to increase that distance, if you like, by adding the pay-as-you-go SIM. You've then allowed yourself the ability to switch the heating on and off, to monitor the van remotely. There are various alarms, which I'll show you in a minute, which you can set up so that your phone will alert you if the temperature in your van's dropping too low, if you're worried about pipes freezing, etc. And then similarly, if you get those warnings when you're well away from your van, you could then send the vehicle a message to actually put the heating on for a while, or whatever you care to take in terms of intervention, but probably to put the heating on for a while, just to avoid perhaps that risk of freezing. Similarly, perhaps, I guess, if you were away from your vehicle out for the day on a particularly cold wintry day, you might, an hour or two before you got back to the van, choose to send a message to your heating to switch the heating on and or the hot water on if you were coming in from a day's walking or cycling. Switch the heating and water on so that you were nice and toasty when you got to your motorhome, ready for your shower off. One or two, but I'm sure there are many another use that you could think for perhaps having remote access. But we'll have a look at the alarms particularly in a moment once we've got everything set up. And then again, if you go into settings, you then get an option initially to update the box, because obviously it was fitted no doubt a fair few months ago. And there's been a software update, so that's going into the box update, start the update. And you can see there that it's transmitting the software update, the firmware update, into the box up there. Hopefully, with the magic of technology, once it's finished installing, we can then have a look at the connectivity we're then going to get from the phone. And it says there that our iNet box has been updated successfully, so we'll acknowledge that. Right, so we've got everything connected there, so I think we can get the control panel back in place. Let's just knock it off while I refix the screws and the external plate. As you're putting the unit back in, just up in the top left corner, right up there, you can see there's a tiny little LED. That will line up with a small hole on the front fascia plate, which you'll see in a moment when that goes back on. So top left corner for that little LED in case the thing has spun round or turned around while you've had the system out. And of course, hopefully some of you in either different vehicles or in caravans won't have to take off all your control panel to get to your iNet box. It might of course be somewhere more accessible, but always good to explore. Right, so that's the backing plate pushed into position. That tiny little, which you might just be able to see, the tiny little hole there allows you to see obviously when the power up light comes on. So make sure when you're putting this backing plate back on that you've got that tiny little hole there, so that when you touch the screen you should hopefully see the there you go, you can just see the little green light then shines through the hole there, which means obviously you've got it in the right position. Right, so let's try out some of the functionality now that's allowed us to link to this through the phone. You can then go into the GSM settings. If you're generally the pay-as-you-go wouldn't have a SIM pin, so you can just leave that blank. You add in a name there. That's in terms of when you start to send the thing text messages, which I'll show you a bit later on. It does actually reply to you by text message and just uses whatever title you put in there, and then finally obviously you put in the number in the international format. You put in the mobile number from your pay-as-you-go SIM card. So we'll finish that one off. And then when you've entered that detail, entered your phone number, Then it tells you that setup is complete and you press OK. It takes you back to the main screen, which obviously is the bit that you're going to react or interact with most, particularly therefore to the remote control aspect. So you'll see now that we have the option of the heating is there, the water temperature is there, and obviously an ability to set the timer. So if we turned on, for example, the heating, you'll see very much similar to the CP Plus control in your vehicle or your caravan. You then get options to go through the temperature, to select the different fan settings, temperature just there, where you get a sliding scale to set your temperature, and you then get options to set your water temperature, and particularly, as you'll know from your vehicle, you get then the option to do it by gas, by electric, or indeed by a mix of both. So all the systems and all the functions that you'll be used to from interacting with the panel directly. So the other key part, apart from obviously the remote control part of the app, the other key part is messages. Because we've added the pay-as-you-go SIM, then there are options within that messages part of the app which allow you then to work with the pay-as-you-go. So if we go into messages and admin functions, you get, if you go into admin functions, it then asks you to any incoming SMS messages, how you want them routed, and also how you want to notify any faults on the system. So in other words, if there were any faults, it would send a text to my phone. So you'll want to fill in your phone number up the top there, again in international format, and that allows you then to receive notifications from the CP Plus unit. So once you've set your phone number, you just click OK, and then the second option down there is alarms via SMS, and therefore if we click into that, you'll see there that you've got some options there for cold alarm, heat alarm and voltage alarm, and you can obviously activate those alarms to inform you by text on your chosen device what the alarm is. I guess particularly being a UK person here and just about heading into winter now, it may be useful to know if the temperature, particularly as we're new to this motorhome, it would be interesting to know the sort of internal temperature, perhaps from a point of view of freezing systems in here. We don't completely winterize the motorhome because we are using it throughout the year. But obviously perhaps we might want to put on some heating or water, indeed, if the temperature was going to get really cold, to prevent any freeze-ups of water residue that's still in the pipes. So I could certainly see a use for the cold alarm, because if it does alarm, A, it sends you a text message to wherever you might be in the world, and B, you can then control it and send a message back to the system from wherever you are in the world to switch on the heating. So similarly, obviously a heat alarm, hopefully next year when we're down in Spain, Portugal, wherever it may be, then that may be more relevant, but not often in the UK. And obviously a battery voltage alarm down the bottom there too. So those are the alarms. Those are the admin functions. So we've set it up to send messages to my phone. You can choose whether you want alarms additionally sent, and that's the message function. And I'll take you and I'll show you how we actually send a message to the system to switch the heating on from a distance when we're out of Bluetooth range. So as we're in the motorhome at the moment, let's go through the basic switching onto the heating, for example. So if we turn the heating on, if we set the fan to high, then hopefully you'll hear it cutting in. We'll set the temperature up a bit to make sure it does cut in. Set it at 25, click OK, and then we'll select, we're on hookup at home on the drive, so we'll select just an electric input, and that should then fire into life very shortly. We should actually hear the fan starting to cut in. And yeah, you can just hear that can just hear that background hum as the heater fan cut in. And if we then actually go to the panel on the van, you'll see there, top left shows that obviously the heating's now come on. It shows that we set it to 25 degrees, which we did from the app. It shows that we're on electric and that we set the fan to high. So all of those settings we sent via Bluetooth from the phone app have all gone straight into the CP Plus unit, and the heating's fired up. Got the heating activation. Similarly, if we just switch the heating off now from our phone app, and we should see then that the system, if we have a quick look up at the control panel, you'll see there that we've got no flashing icons, and indeed it's back to a standard screen. So that's switched the heating off from the phone. So we'll now go a bit further away from the vehicle, out of Bluetooth range, and I'll just show you how that text system works, how you can send a text to the vehicle and also receive one back, in fact, when it's switched it on. Right, so we're now out of range of the Bluetooth in the motorhome. I'm back indoors now at home, and you'll also know that because when you go into messages, when you go into the remote control, I should say, it straight away tells you that it's switching to SMS mode because it's out of Bluetooth range. So you get a slightly different screen. You'll see you then get an option to send as an SMS. So what we'll do again, we'll switch our heating on via text. We'll set it once again to 25 degrees. So slide it round there, click OK. We'll set the fan to high. We'll leave the water temperature. We'll set the energy selection electric 2. And then we get an option there to send those settings through to the motorhome. And there we go. So what it comes up with, it creates a new message on your phone. And you'll see there it says, "Dear iNet box, switch on the heater, set temperature 25, fan high, water off, with electric 2. Thanks and regards." That's very kind of it to do a very civil text. So we'll send that. And we may get back, if we go back to our text, there we go. So the text comes almost straight back, and again, very civilly, says, "Hello Bob, I'm switching on the heater, set temperature 25, fan high, water off, with electric 2. Regards, your iNet box." How sociable is that? So with the wonders of technology, hopefully that will have switched on the heater in the van, so that when we get back from our hot and sweaty walk up in the mountains, the heating's on, and the shower or the water would be ready if you, of course, chose the water option. All that remains to be done is to go back to the motorhome and see if those settings that we've put in have worked. So back up to the motorhome, and let's see if we made contact. And there we have it. With the wonders of technology, heating's come on there, the fan is on it, power source is electric 2, fan is on high, and you just saw it switch between the time and that 25 degrees that we set it at. So a pretty straightforward app, very civil, sending you nice text messages, and we can similarly, when we switch the system off remotely as well, it also acknowledges that we've sent a text to switch it off and tells you it's off. So some of the other settings we've looked at setup, we've looked at the update. Device manager, you get an option there to manage the devices that it's connected to. So if we look at that, it tells me that I'm connected to the CP Plus control panel, and the boiler in this motorhome is the Truma Combi 6E. That's the device manager. Your balance is if you would normally perhaps send a code to your if you use a pay-as-you-go mobile in your own phone, for example, you can often send a code to your provider that just then comes back with an exact amount left on your pay-as-you-go card. So that's all that is. Wireless status tells you obviously that everything's connected and running fine. And then in your general settings down the bottom there, you get the ability just to change language, centimeters, inches, degrees or Fahrenheit, and 24 or 12 hours. If we then go down to tools, you'll see that there are two options at the moment on the app as standard. One is the sun alignment feature, if you wanted to get to your site and work out perhaps the best spot or the best angle to park up at. And then there's also the leveling feature, which we'll also have a look at. So if we tap on leveling, it asks whether you're a caravan or motorhome. Into motorhome. So it then asks you to lay the phone on a flat surface. To place it on a flat surface with the home key facing towards the rear of the vehicle. And once you've done that, you click OK. It then asks you to provide two measurements. One is the distance from the centre of the axle at the front to the centre of the axle at the rear. And then the second measurement is to add from the centre of the tyre to the centre of the tyre across the front or the back of the vehicle. And once you've done that, you click through to accept, and up comes this picture here. And interestingly, as you move and as I lift the phone, as I mentioned just a moment ago, we're on a drive on a slope at home on the driveway, so you can see as I just try and lift the phone slightly and alter its angle, it allows me to level the device. So obviously if the phone was sat here on the table, it's just another way of, apart from a good old spirit level of course, it's another way of using the app as in effect a spirit level, left, right and front and back. Good little feature that is, and seems to work pretty well. What we've also got under the tools menu, we've got the leveling one, which we've just had a look at. We've also got sun alignment. It's showing where true north is, and it's also showing your sunset and your sunrise positions. So that's a look at the app. It's a look at the messaging process, a look at your options, whether you just want to stick with Bluetooth in and around the vehicle or your caravan, or whether you want to have that ability to control it from range and or get alarms about the status of the vehicle, temperature of the vehicle, battery status of the vehicle when you're away from it, which is when you would then add your pay-as-you-go sim. Some really useful functionality, and then some of those extra tools as well that we looked at, the leveling device and all the sun alignment, perhaps also useful for you whilst you're in and around your motorhome or caravan. So hopefully that's been of use to you, and for those of you who have the Truma products, the ability to connect with the Truma app, and obviously to link to it via the iNet box that you might have hidden away. If it's anything like this Mobile Veta motorhome, it was hidden away pretty well to get to those Bluetooth settings, but hopefully with your vehicles and or caravans it's a bit more accessible. But that gives you an idea of the functionality of how to set up the Bluetooth, how to set up your pay-as-you-go sim, and then how to interact with it and the menu options you get on the Truma app. So very useful functionality. So if you've enjoyed the film, then please do consider giving us a like. Also consider subscribing to our channel. We'd love to have you along. And if you've got any further questions or observations about what the film content, then do add your questions in the comments below. We love to get your comments and we'll reply to all of them. So thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye guys.